Argentina is often known for tango, football, red wine, vast plains, and the wild beauty of Patagonia. But behind that familiar image is another Argentina. Great bridges across the Paraná River connect provinces, shorten travel time, and expand trade. Massive dams turn river power into electricity, while helping regulate water levels and protect riverside communities. Across its major cities, Argentina reveals a modern nation where transportation, airports, urban renewal, and culture continue to grow together. Join us as we explore the hidden mega-projects of Argentina, where water, steel, light, and motion reveal a side of the country few people truly know. On the Uruguay River, where Argentina and Uruguay face each other across the water, Salto Grande Dam turns a natural zone of rapids into one of South America's most important binational power systems. The site was chosen because the river already had a powerful drop here, a place once known for fast water and rocky, uneven ground. And the dam now captures that force through 14 Kaplan turbines with 1,890 megawatts of installed capacity. In an average year, Salto Grande generates about 8,546 gigawatt-hours of electricity, enough to power more than 800,000 average U.S. homes for a year. The scale expands beyond the concrete wall because the reservoir behind it covers more than 300 square miles, nearly the land area of New York City, stretching along the river like a man-made inland sea. Its energy matters deeply on both sides of the border, especially for Uruguay, where Salto Grande has been described as supplying roughly half of the country's electricity system, while also feeding Argentina's grid. Yet the most unforgettable sight comes when the river rises and the spillway opens, releasing more than 2 million cubic feet of water every second through the structure, turning the dam into a roaring white wall of force. And above that power, an international road and rail bridge crosses the top, linking Salto and Concordia. So Salto Grande does more than generate electricity. It turns one river into a shared machine for energy, movement, and national connection. Rosario-Victoria Bridge in Argentina is not just the span you see rising over the Paraná River near Rosario. It is a nearly 37-mile road connection built to cross one of the widest, most complex river landscapes in the country. The route links Rosario in Santa Fe with Victoria in Entre Rios through a chain of bridges, viaducts, embankments, islands, and floodplain, turning a difficult stretch of the Paraná Delta into a fixed corridor for daily movement, so the project immediately feels larger than a single bridge. More than 7 miles of the route are made of bridges and viaducts, while long raised sections run across wetlands and island terrain where water can reshape the landscape around the road. The main cable-stayed bridge, officially named Nuestra Señora del Rosario, gives the project its landmark image, lifting traffic high over the river, while barges and ships continue moving below. Before this connection opened in 2003, Rosario and Victoria were separated not by distance alone, but by the river system itself. The project was also shaped by Argentina's economic crisis, with construction slowed by funding problems before the crossing finally opened to traffic, making its completion a sign that difficult infrastructure could still be finished when the country needed stronger internal connections. The bridge was recognized as Argentina's Road Project of the Year in 2003, and today, Rosario-Victoria stands as a long, visible line across water, islands, and wetlands, linking two provinces through one of the most demanding landscapes on the Paraná. Zarate-Brazo Largo in Argentina is a 19-mile road and rail crossing built to carry people, trucks, and trains across the Paraná Delta. It links Buenos Aires province with Entre Rios through two cable-stayed bridges, long viaducts, island embankments, and a route that replaced one of the country's slowest river crossings. Before it opened in 1977, vehicles had to move by ferry across the Paraná de las Palmas and Paranaguaçu, then continue over a rough gravel road on Talavera Island. That old journey made the Northeast harder to reach from Argentina's main economic center. The new complex changed the rhythm of movement by putting National Route 12 and the General Urquiza Railway onto the same fixed corridor. From above, the project is easy to understand. One bridge rises over Paraná de las Palmas. The second stands far across the delta over Paranaguaçu, and between them, the road and rail line cut through water, islands, and wetlands. The pylons climb about 400 feet, nearly the height of a 40-story building, while the main spans are lifted high enough for river traffic to keep moving underneath. That balance is what gives Zarate-Brazo Largo its real force. It does not only cross a river, it crosses a working river system without shutting it down. Today, this complex carries a strategic route toward Entre Rios, Corrientes, Misiones, Uruguay, and Brazil, turning a place once ruled by ferries and waiting time into one of Argentina's most important gateways by road and rail. On the Paraná River, where Argentina meets Paraguay, Yacyreta Dam turns one of South America's great rivers into a vast engine of electricity. This is not a small hydro plant hidden in the landscape. It is a binational megastructure with about 3,100 to 3,200 megawatts of installed capacity and 20 Kaplan turbines working inside a wall of concrete. In a strong year, Yacyreta can generate around 20 terawatt-hours of electricity, enough to cover the yearly power use of nearly 2 million average U.S. homes. The reservoir behind it spreads across more than 600 square miles, more than twice the land area of New York City, turning the Paraná into a massive inland body of water. Yet the most striking part of Yacyreta is that for years, this giant could not fully use its own power. The reservoir sat 23 feet below its planned level, forcing the plant to operate far under its design capacity, until the water was finally raised to 83 meters above sea level in 2011. That final step unlocked the scale the project was built for, but it also shows the human weight behind the numbers. Raising the water changed river towns, required large-scale relocation, and altered ecosystems where fish had moved through the Paraná for generations. Yacyreta is powerful because it is both an energy machine and a transformed landscape where electricity, water, borders, and human lives all meet at the same concrete edge. Every few minutes, commuter trains pull out of Constitucion Station, carrying thousands of passengers toward the southern suburbs, but the railway they run on has changed far more than most people realize. The electrification of the Roca line replaced aging diesel locomotives with modern electric trains along the 32-mile route to La Plata, one of Argentina's busiest commuter corridors, allowing services to run more frequently while reducing travel times. The transformation extends well beyond the trains themselves, as new overhead power lines, upgraded signaling systems, rebuilt stations, and higher platforms reshaped the entire railway from end to end. For passengers, the difference is easy to notice. Electric trains accelerate more smoothly, brake more gently, and produce far less noise as they move through neighborhoods that have depended on this line for generations. Today, hundreds of thousands of people travel this route every day, often without noticing the engineering above their heads. Yet that network of wires and modern infrastructure is what keeps one of Argentina's busiest railways moving from early morning until late at night. Aluar's industrial network links a remote hydroelectric dam, an aluminum smelter, and a deep water port into one continuous production system stretching across Patagonia. Electricity generated by the Futuristic Dam powers massive electrolysis cells at the Aluar plant in Puerto Madryn, where aluminum is produced, using enormous amounts of energy every hour. The finished metal then moves directly to nearby port facilities for export, reducing transport time between production and global markets. Few industrial projects combine power generation, heavy manufacturing, and maritime logistics so closely within a single integrated chain. From the mountains where water begins its journey, to the Atlantic coast where aluminum leaves for customers around the world, every stage depends on the next. It is not one structure, but an engineering ecosystem built to keep an entire industry moving efficiently. Profertil stands at the heart of the Bahia Blanca petrochemical complex, where natural gas is transformed into one of modern agriculture's most essential products, nitrogen fertilizer. Every day, the plant converts gas into ammonia and urea through a tightly controlled industrial process that supports crop production across vast farming regions. Nearby gas pipelines provide a steady supply of raw materials, while deep water port facilities allow fertilizer to reach both domestic and international markets efficiently. Behind the maze of reactors, towers, and pipelines lies an operation that runs almost continuously, with precision measured as carefully as output. Few people ever see what happens inside these industrial facilities. Yet the fertilizer produced here helps sustain harvests far beyond the factory gates, linking heavy industry directly to fields that feed millions. Salar de Olaroz has become one of the world's leading lithium production sites by turning sunlight, salt water, and time into the core of its extraction process. Brine is pumped from deep beneath the salt flat into a series of evaporation ponds, where changing shades of blue and green reveal different stages of mineral concentration. Months later, the concentrated solution moves through refining facilities before becoming high-purity lithium carbonate for rechargeable batteries. Operating at more than 3,900 meters above sea level requires equipment designed for harsh conditions, while careful water management remains central to the project's long-term sustainability. Few industrial landscapes look so quiet from the air. Yet beneath those colorful ponds lies one of the fastest-growing supply chains supporting the global shift toward electric mobility and large-scale energy storage. ARSAT-1 marked a milestone by becoming the first geostationary communications satellite, designed and built almost entirely within the country. Launched in 2014, it entered orbit nearly 36,000 kilometers above Earth, where it moves at the same speed as the planet's rotation and appears fixed over one position. From that altitude, the satellite delivers television, internet, and data services across vast and often remote regions that are difficult to connect through ground infrastructure alone. Building such a spacecraft required expertise in aerospace engineering, electronics, software, and satellite operations that had previously depended heavily on foreign technology. The mission was never only about reaching space. It was about proving that advanced engineering could extend far beyond laboratories, creating technology capable of serving millions of people every day from high above the atmosphere. Pierre Auger Observatory stretches across nearly 3,000 square kilometers of open plain, creating the world's largest facility dedicated to studying ultra-high-energy cosmic rays. More than 1,600 particle detectors are spread across the landscape, while powerful fluorescence telescopes watch the night sky for tiny flashes produced when particles from deep space strike Earth's atmosphere. These events last only fractions of a second, yet they may carry clues about some of the most energetic phenomena in the universe, including exploding stars and supermassive black holes. Scientists from dozens of countries work together here, turning a quiet stretch of land into one of the world's most important laboratories for astrophysics. Rather than looking outward with giant telescopes alone, this observatory studies the invisible particles that arrive after traveling unimaginable distances across the cosmos. Cauchari Solar Park in Jujuy feels almost unreal because it does not sit in a warm, easy desert near sea level. It rises on the Puna Plateau at more than 13,000 feet, higher than many famous peaks in the United States, where thin air, cold nights, fierce sun, and wide Andean silence turn every row of panels into something sharper. Across this high-altitude landscape, about 960,000 solar panels spread over the ground like a dark glass field, collecting sunlight in a place where the sky feels close enough to touch. The scale is not only visual. GEMC estimates annual production at about 690,000 megawatt-hours, enough electricity for roughly 60,000 average U.S. homes for a year. That matters, because Cauchari is not just a clean energy symbol placed in a remote corner of Argentina. It is a way for Jujuy to turn one of its harshest natural conditions into a working asset. Around 1,700 people took part in construction, bringing crews, engineers, trucks, cables, foundations, and long days of labor into a landscape shaped by altitude and distance. The human story sits inside every aerial shot, because those panels did not simply appear on the plateau. They were carried, aligned, connected, and tested by people working under intense sun and cold mountain air. Cauchari is powerful because it changes the meaning of this remote place. What once looked like empty high desert now works as an energy field for Argentina, and it also points toward Jujuy's next chapter, where solar power, lithium, and batteries may become part of the same future. Autopista Buenos Aires La Plata, officially named Autopista Dr. Ricardo Balbín, is the urban highway that links Argentina's capital with La Plata, the capital of Buenos Aires province. It runs for about 31 miles through one of the country's busiest metropolitan corridors, passing from Buenos Aires toward Avellaneda, Quilmes, Berazategui, Ensenada, and La Plata near the Rio de la Plata. What gives this highway its importance is the pressure it was built to relieve. For decades, older roads between the national capital and the provincial capital were overloaded, while traffic, accidents, and daily delays turned a simple intercity trip into a serious urban problem. The highway created a faster, separated route for commuters, buses, families, freight, and government travel between two powerful centers of public life. Its reach expands at kilometer 31, where it connects with National Route A004, the gateway toward Autovia 2 and the Atlantic coast, including Mar del Plata. That means the road serves office workers and students during the week, then becomes part of the summer escape route for millions leaving Greater Buenos Aires for the beach. Its scale is clear in the monthly numbers, with more than 2.2 million vehicles and 6 million people using the corridor, according to route records. In a country where Buenos Aires concentrates so much political, economic, and cultural weight, Autopista Buenos Aires-La Plata carries the daily movement of work, study, tourism, freight, and family life between the capital, the province, and the coast. Autopista Rosario-Cordoba in central Argentina is a 255-mile highway built to connect Rosario and Cordoba, the country's third and second largest cities. Across the Pampas, this road turns what was once a slower, town-by-town journey into a direct high-speed link between two of Argentina's strongest economic centers. The old Route 9 followed the railway and passed through local streets, where long-distance trucks, buses, and cars had to mix with everyday life in towns along the way. The new highway changes that rhythm by moving major traffic onto a separate route, giving long-distance travel a cleaner path, while allowing the older road to serve local movement. Its scale matters because Rosario is one of Argentina's great port and grain export centers, while Cordoba is a major industrial, automotive, and university city. Connecting them means connecting crops, factories, students, workers, families, and freight across one of the country's most productive regions. First imagined in the 1970s, the project carries the weight of decades of delays, partial openings, and renewed construction before the full highway was finally inaugurated in 2010. Today, Autopista Rosario-Cordoba is more than pavement across flat land, because this fast line through the heart of Argentina's economy replaces a fragmented route with a direct connection between two cities that help keep the country moving. Atucha 2 nuclear power plant rises beside the Paraná de las Palmas River as one of Argentina's clearest statements of technological ambition. Located in the Atucha nuclear complex near Lima, about 60 miles from Buenos Aires, it stands beside Atucha 3, the first nuclear power plant in Latin America, turning this riverside site into a rare nuclear landmark for the region. Atucha II is Argentina's largest nuclear generating unit, with about 692 megawatts of net capacity and roughly 740 to 745 megawatts gross. But its strongest story is not only the power it produces. Construction began in 1981, stalled for years, and only returned to life decades later, reaching the grid in 2014 and entering commercial operation in 2016. That timeline gives the plant a different kind of weight: concrete, steel, stored components, old plans, new workers, and a country deciding that unfinished nuclear infrastructure was still worth completing. In 2025, according to IDEA data, Atucha 2 supplied about 5,408 gigawatt-hours of electricity, enough for more than 500,000 average U.S. homes for a year. Inside that output is a human system of engineers, operators, fuel specialists, and national suppliers connected to Argentina's long nuclear industry. The plant also sits inside a larger story of peaceful nuclear capability, because few countries in Latin America operate commercial nuclear power at this level. Atucha 2 is not just a power station on a riverbank. It is proof that Argentina can carry a difficult technology across decades and keep it running inside the country's modern energy grid. For years, crossing Buenos Aires by subway often meant making a long detour through crowded downtown stations just to change lines. So Line H was built to close one of the biggest gaps in the city's metro network. Opened in 2007, it became the first completely new subway line constructed in Buenos Aires in the 21st century, creating a north-south corridor that finally linked several older routes and made journeys across the capital much more direct. The difference was immediate, as passengers needed fewer transfers and could travel between neighborhoods without repeatedly passing through the busiest stations in the city center. The engineering, however, is only part of its story, because several stations were designed as public art spaces, where commuters walk past colorful murals, portraits of tango legends, and exhibitions celebrating Argentina's cultural heritage instead of plain concrete walls. Modern trains, upgraded signaling systems, and fully accessible platforms show how South America's oldest metro network continues to modernize while serving the needs of a growing city. Today, thousands of people ride Line H every day without giving it much thought. Yet this single line quietly changed how Buenos Aires moves by turning a once fragmented subway system into a far more connected network. Unlike Ezeiza, Argentina's long-haul gateway to the world, Aeroparque Jorge Newbery brings flight almost into Buenos Aires itself. Set beside the Rio de la Plata in Palermo, only about 2 kilometers from downtown, this airport operates next to water, avenues, parks, and the moving edge of the capital. Its image is instantly memorable, with aircraft lifting off over the river, while cars move along Costanera Norte, and the city skyline sits behind the runway. In 2024, Aeroparque handled about 14.89 million passengers, making it Argentina's busiest airport by total traffic. Its modernized runway stretches about 8,858 feet, nearly 30 NFL football fields end to end, giving this compact urban airport the strength to handle heavy domestic and regional flights. Passengers can reach Aeroparque from downtown Buenos Aires in about 10 to 15 minutes, instead of 40 minutes or more, to reach Ezeiza, which matters for business travelers, families, tourists, and crews moving through one of South America's busiest city airports. Aeroparque stands out because every departure feels connected to the river, the skyline, and the city just beyond the runway. Palacio Libertad, formerly known as the Centro Cultural Kirchner, gave one of Buenos Aires' grandest public buildings an entirely new purpose without changing its historic identity. The structure first opened in 1928 as Argentina's central post office, where millions of letters once passed through its vast halls. A major restoration preserved its Beaux-Arts exterior, while transforming the interior into one of Latin America's largest cultural centers. Concert halls, exhibition galleries, rehearsal spaces, and public plazas now fill a building originally designed for mail rather than music. At its heart stands the striking Blue Whale Concert Hall, suspended inside the historic structure, like a modern sculpture enclosed by classical architecture. Instead of replacing the past, Palacio Libertad allows history and contemporary culture to occupy the same space, giving an iconic civic landmark a second life for a new generation. Teatro Colon has long been regarded as one of the world's greatest opera houses, where remarkable acoustics and elegant architecture share the stage with every performance. Opened in 1908, the theater welcomed generations of celebrated musicians before decades of heavy use made a comprehensive restoration unavoidable. Engineers, architects, and artisans spent years repairing its marble staircases, stained glass, intricate carvings, and richly decorated interiors, while carefully preserving the sound quality that performers have praised for more than a century. Every layer of paint, fabric, and wood was restored with exceptional precision instead of being replaced. When the theater reopened in 2010, audiences stepped into a building that looked much as it had 100 years earlier, yet quietly met modern standards behind the scenes. Here, the greatest achievement was not creating something new, but ensuring that one of the world's finest concert halls could continue performing for generations to come.